Hey everybody, Nick here, and today I got a disassembly and maintenance video for you on this little guy right here. This is the Peña Knives Front Flipper Zulu pocket knife in the Peña X series. And that's kind of cool. To start with, just a quick introduction. This is not the same knife as this guy. This is the Front Flipper Trapper. This is a Zulu version. Different blade shape and different overall handle here. It's a different pattern of knife. And so I haven't had this guy on the channel before, and in fact, I haven't handled one of his Zulus. So it's a very different kind of knife here. But let's go on ahead and take this guy apart and see how it looks. This is a Peña X series here. Do I need to do that? What am I doing here? So right now, immediately, my question becomes, which side do I have to come at this from? I know I need to take off the pivot screw. And at the very least, I need to take out either these two screws or these three screws on the back there. Because I know that there's got to be a screw at least here, and probably there's one over here as well. Just because that's the way these things are built. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by taking off the micarta on the front side, because that's one fewer screw, right? If I take off the clip, that's an entire second screw, and that's not necessarily ideal. So lift that off, boom, okay, called it. So under the front scale here, there are two separate screws that look to be about T6, and I can unscrew those, and then I'll be able to take out the pivot, which is T10 from the looks of it. Nice. Yeah. Oh, free spinning pivot. Enrique, you're killing me. Anyways, we can go ahead and pop. Actually, I'll pop out the pivot first, just because I need my T10. Come here, T10. T10. Use this guy to hold the other side of it. And now I can use this to unscrew, unscrew, unscrew. Beautiful. It's popping loose. Oppa. Okay, so that actually went slightly backwards of what I expected, but that's okay. So the screw popped out the backside there. Whatever, not a big deal. Is that side loose too? No, okay. It must be thread locked in on this side, but not the other one. Okay. Then I'll go through and I'll unscrew these back screws here. Good. Pop that loose. And pop this loose. Then there's this extra pin in here to stiffen it up, which is good. And then this is disassembling itself, so I'll let it. And beautiful. Okay. So we have taken this guy apart. And what we see here is, well, not all that much. They are internally numbered, although not externally, which is fine. There is absolutely no steel marking on this guy, although I believe them to be M390. Yeah, I believe so. And then we will go ahead and clean things up. If you're curious about any of the tools I'm using in this disassembly, go ahead and hit up nickshabazz.com/tools. That'll get you a whole list of tools that you can use to do this for yourself. Because you should do this for yourself. Not necessarily on this knife, although, frankly, so far, so good. But you should at the very least do it. You got a little bit of evidence of heat discoloration right off the lock bar there where the lock face was ground in. Doesn't look too bad, but it's a thing. Then I will go ahead and I'll pull out this stop pin there. So it's got an internal stop pin, which is interesting. Relatively small little internal stop pin. All right. And then I will go ahead and use a Q-tip here. And I'm soaking, by the way, this cloth is soaked in isopropyl alcohol. Burning through my supply at a rapid clip. Oof. But more importantly, yeah, so I've soaked the Q-tip in isopropyl, and I've also soaked the cloth I was using to clean things off. Both of those things are soaked there. Let things clean out. But anyways, this is Peña's X series. It's made by Rayot Knives over there in China. Very good. You know, Rayot has come a long way, actually. You know, they started off actually quite good, and I mean they've always been good, but they've now sort of gotten to the point, especially now that they're grinding a little bit thinner, and that they're not using the thread locker. They've gotten to a point where they're damn near top of the rock. It's them and we are kind of neck and neck in terms of overseas made cutlery. Well, okay, I'm sorry. Instead of in terms of Chinese made, one could probably argue that Shirogorov is at maybe slightly past the level of Rayot at this point, but nonetheless, yeah, and they're made over in Russia. so the story goes. We will go ahead and put this right here. And, yeah, good. Now I'm just cleaning off these ceramic bearings. By the way, they are indeed ceramic bearings. If we look closely, that's ceramic is all get out in there. And we are pretty much cleaned. Pardon me. I'll go ahead and just wipe down those parts. This was lubed up with a grease that I'm not necessarily a big fan of. Something a little thicker. I don't know what Rayot's using these days, but I would much prefer they use something else. Okay, and I'm just making sure, by the way, that this... Because, okay, what they've done here is it looks like they've permanently thread-locked in this tube, or this screw into this tube, creating the pivot piece. That's fine. That's great, as a matter of fact. It doesn't bother me in any particular way, but it is something that, you know, you want to make sure that that is tight. Because if both sides of your pivot are loose and you don't know that, then you could actually have your pivot coming loose for reasons you can't understand. That's not good. I'm going to go ahead and use some knife pivot lube here, just to calm this down. Drop this in here. And let's rotate this bearing to distribute the lubrication throughout. I'll go ahead and I will use some of the stuff that's on the side there to coat the pivot itself. Yeah, let the bearing in there. Beautiful. Now what I need to do is lubricate the detent ball path. So, whoa there, that was way too much. But this dispenser, unfortunately, tends to go a little extreme. And mind you, I am a man who enjoys going a little extreme when it comes to lubrication. That's not a sentence I should have uttered. But nonetheless, here we are. We deal with the world that we have, not the world that we desire. But okay, anyways, I digress. Whoa, okay. Again, KPL, you're overdoing it there. Like this, for some reason, this bottle right now is just super enthusiastic. Whatever. Put this down here, rotate. And what we see here is that has spread the lubricant all around the outside of the pivot there. Around the bearing race, that is. Now what I do, we've got enough on the detent ball path, we got enough in there generally speaking, and I can drop this onto the other side here. Make sure that that pin there to stabilize is in place, and then I'm going to press the pivot, or press the lock bar down a little bit. And what we saw there, by the way, was a lock bar insert, which is great. And how am I going to do this? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start off by putting I'll put the pivot in place first. Get my T10 out. No, you're not my T10. You're my T10. I'm also going to get a, there. So I destroy everything. Get this guy out, which is some Loctite on a stick. Are you T10? Yeah, it's just super shallow screw, unfortunately. The tip isn't very, it's a pretty shallow hole in the top of the screw there. It's a pretty thin screw, so I get it at some level, but screw head that is. But okay, because of that shallowness, I'm going to try and start this by hand. Beautiful. Okay, great. All right. Beautiful. Do I want to tighten that a little bit better? The reason I kind of want to... No, I probably shouldn't. And the reason I might want to do that, I'll just throw those bottom ones in there, is just so that I've got the pivot tension right before I tension these body screws. But what I'm going to do instead here is I'm going to put these guys in. Again, using a little bit of thread locker here. Put these guys in place, and then what I'll do is I'll adjust the pivot to proper tension, because it's possible that in order to get the centering right, and this isn't usually the issue with, you know, Rayot's got good enough tolerances, that usually doesn't come up much. But at the same time, we can go ahead and get everything sort of dialed in before I put this last bit of micarta in place that will prevent me from working on those screws. So, oh God, the action's better, but it's also super loose right now. I got blade play. So I'm going to go ahead and tighten this up. And because it's free spinning, I need to not do that. So let's go ahead and put this here. And I will tighten. And again, it's difficult because these pivot screws are so damn small. Okay, we are dead centered. No blade play. Okay, I think I might have over-tightened a little bit, so I'm going to try and loosen just a little bit and see whether that gives me play. No play. Yeah, that's smoother. No play. Centering is, if not dead on, so close I don't care. Yeah, again, zero play in either direction. Yeah, we're good to go. So what I'm going to do here is just close everything up here. I'm going to put just the slightest bit of... Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a little bit of this thread locker. I'm going to put it on this little watch spring bar tool here and use it effectively as an oiler. And I'm just going to apply that directly to the threads here because I don't want to particularly push the... I don't want to put thread locker onto those screws and then push it through the micarta, because I could end up very easily with the thread locker, in the, on the front of the micarta there. That might be harder to get out. So I'm just going to go ahead and again use this oiler here and just apply that thread locker directly into those threads there, such that when the screw interfaces, everything should go fine. I'll go ahead and clean off my oiler tool here. And then I will go ahead and seal everything up. One thing I'm probably also going to do here is to put a little bit of mineral oil onto these scales. These will naturally darken up a little bit, but as it stands, this micarta is not, there we go. Slightly out of alignment. What's going on here? I'm going to loosen this up a little bit here, just to make sure I'm not stripping out this screw. There we go. Beautiful, that's tightened down. Now I can tighten the other one down. I shouldn't have put full gronk on the second one or on the bottom one until I finished the first one, but that's okay. Yeah, that's smooth. That's real smooth. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and put just a little bit of mineral oil into these scales. The reason I'm doing that is purely aesthetic. I just tend to prefer the aesthetic of a little bit of darker micarta here. So just the slightest bit of mineral oil. And rub that right into place here. This would happen pretty naturally. By the way, as you are carrying the knife, that will, generally speaking, occur. And so there's not much of an issue there. But at the same time, see already, I think that just looks a little nicer relative to your stock micarta there. And I'll do the same thing on the other side, although on the other side it's a little complicated by having the clip there. But nonetheless, I will persist. And I will put the, rub that into there. And again, just making sure to get the edges here. No harm in it, particularly. Unless you like the dry micarta look. And then to get underneath there is a little trickier. But what I'll go ahead and I'll do is I'll use one of my fabric swatches here. Beautiful. And actually, I'll close the blade because I don't need that open at this point. And what I'll do is I'll slide it under here and then trap a couple of threads because why not? But more importantly, I will apply a little bit of mineral oil directly to this cloth. And then, oh, sorry, I hope I wasn't doing that off camera. Then what I'll do is just this. Just slip that, come on now. There we go. Yeah, just slip that right under the clip there, and then that should apply a sufficient amount all in that area, and then I'll just run a little bit along the side here. And now we are in business, as they would say. In the business. A business primarily run by people who are in said business. And that'll soak in a little bit, just make things a little prettier. This is completely unnecessary. This is not something you need to do. And like I said, naturally you will get some patina off of that, but I just like that a little bit. And actually, speaking of which, I'm going to go ahead and apply that to this. Well, I've got the mineral oil out here. This is the Front Flipper Trapper production version, which Peña has also made. And this is the different color of micarta. Very different color. But, yeah, I like it a little bit better when it is oiled as well, so I'll go ahead and do so. Yeah, But that was nice. That was nice. No, it was a nice disassembly. And as I said, Rayot is one of those companies that is sort of, they've done a lot of growing even in the time I've been in the industry. I mean, I remember very early on, you know, they dropped like the Torrent. Was one of their, no, it wasn't the Torrent, it was the, I think they did the Torrent as well, but I think it was the Rayot Wave, might have been it. But it was like a very early kind of 3.25-inch flip it. Like if they dropped that same knife in 2020, everybody would just laugh and laugh because it would just be so completely normal now. But at the time, it was actually quite impressive. And it was one of the knives that kind of put them on the map, along with later on the Steelcraft Bodegas with the bag knives folks. But they have just kind of kept improving and improving and improving. And now it's the point where they can do justice to, you know, actual high-quality custom knives, which is not trivial, right? And especially when somebody who's handled the customs feels that way too, who frankly owns one of the customs. I mean, I have a custom knife right here from freaking Peña. This is the custom version of the Front Flipper Trapper right here. And so, yeah, I mean, I would say I am in a position to judge, which is good because I'm going to judge anyways, right? But yeah, so, yeah, I'm very impressed with that. And it was just, well, good construction, good overall. Yeah, nice. Just nice, Rayot. Keep it up. So anyways, there you go. That was your disassembly, your maintenance, and your little bit extra for that extra $0 that you were paying for this content. Sorry. I hope you found this interesting. I hope that you enjoy this disassembly. Keep an eye out for the review, which for you will be coming up in like 2 hours. But for me, will be coming up in like, I don't know, a week, 2 weeks, something along those lines. And most of all, I really hope that you have yourselves just an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.